We already have our login page ready. We have tested the design on several emulators as well as the Xamarin Live Player, and we've also implemented the login. And we've also implemented a small evaluation inside of the login button clicked event handler for us to be able to know if the user should be able to log in or not. If the if statement is executed, we're not going to let the user log in. But if the else statement is executed, we should let the user enter the application. And so in this lecture, we're going to cover navigation to a new page that is only going to happen when the user has successfully logged in into the application. So of course, the first thing that we need to be able to navigate to a new page, well, it's a new page. So let's first take a look at what we need to do to create a new page inside of Xamarin Forms. Navigate to your Solution Explorer and find the Portable Class Library project. Remember that it is this project in which we are going to have most, if not all, of the functionality and the design on Xamarin Forms applications. Right now, we only have the main page.xaml, but we need a new page. So let's go ahead and create it right inside of this project. All you have to do is right-click on the project, select Add, and select New Item. In the Add New Item window, you will see a lot of different templates that you can use and that will allow you to add new items to the project. The one that we're looking for is one that will create something very similar to what we have with the main page. That is a XAML file and a C# file. And you can easily identify which of these templates is going to create a XAML file because on Visual Studio on Windows, it has this little blue icon. Also, if you select the templates that have that little blue icon, you see that the name is set to have by default a XAML extension. Why is it important to identify the XAML extension in here? Well, the template that we're going to be using right now is a content page. But notice that there are two content page templates available. One with that blue icon and one with a green C# icon. These are both going to create a page, but one is going to create it with a XAML file, similar to what we have with the main page, and one is only going to create the C# file, meaning that the UI would have to be designed with C# and not with XAML. If we were to do that, we wouldn't have the possibility of checking out the design inside of the Xamarin Forms previewer, and it will make the design process much harder. So just make sure that you are selecting the content page that will create a file that has the XAML extension. Now notice that there are many templates that create pages. For example, there is one that creates a page with a list view already, one that creates a page that already has a master detail, and even one that creates a tabbed page. Once we get more familiarized with XAML, whenever you want to create a new page, you can select one of these templates as well. Right now we're going to start with the content page because it's an empty page, so we can start from scratch designing our pages, and we're going to want to change the name of our page. Now, just as a good practice, all of our pages are always going to end with the page word, just like we have the main page. Although we should have changed the name to login page in this case. But just remember that as a good practice, you always want to set the name of a page to end with page. For example, for this page that is going to be the home page, we can set its name to be home and to end with page. And just click on add and it will be added to your project. And notice two things. One, the home page is very similar to the main page. We have the homepage.xaml, and if we expand it on our Solution Explorer, we also see the homepage.xaml.cs. And two, it is also created with the default label that we saw when we created the Xamarin Forms application, but in this case, it is inside a content page.content and inside a stack layout. Now, this content page.content is actually not entirely necessary, and we'll take a look at that by using the Xamarin Forms previewer. So let's go ahead and navigate to the View menu, select Other Windows, and select Xamarin Forms Previewer to take a look at what this page has inside. Once the Xamarin Forms Previewer is open, you may be asked to rebuild the project before being able to take a look at the render because, well, the home page is a new page. And once the project has been rebuilt, you should be able to see the Welcome to Xamarin Forms label. Now let's go ahead and test out what happens when we delete the two lines that define the content of the content page. Notice that the result is that nothing changed. And that is because of one simple reason. The content property of a container, for example, the stack layout or the content page, is always the default property, meaning that we do not need to set this. So whether we write it down or not, the result is the same. And it is the same, for example, for the text property of the label. In the case of the label, it is the text property, the one that is the default one. So in case I define the label like this, whatever I write between the opening and the closing definition is going to be assigned to the text property. So I can write in here, welcome to Xamarin Forms. And notice that indeed it is assigned to the text of the label. But let's go ahead and continue implementing the navigation. We now have this home page that is going to be the one to which we want to navigate. And we want to navigate to it from the else statement inside of our login button clicked event handler. So let's go ahead and navigate to that. On Xamarin Forms, it is very easy to navigate to a different page. All we have to do is write navigation.push async. What this is going to do is we're going to push a new page into the screen. And in parentheses, we need to establish to which page we're going to be navigating to. In this case, we want to navigate to a new home page. So we can write in here new home page, parentheses, semicolon at the end, and that is everything that we need to navigate, sort of. That is the only thing that we need to write in here. But right now, our page doesn't allow for navigation because it just doesn't know how to navigate from one page to another and allow a navigation back, which is very important. So before moving forward, we do need to add something else, and that is a navigation page. The reason why we need the navigation page is because a normal page doesn't really know how to navigate from one page to another. So we need a kind of page that will allow the navigation from one page to another. And it will do a little bit more than just allowing the navigation from one page to another. It will allow us to navigate back to the previous navigation. And this is especially important on iOS because on Android you have the back button, but on iOS you do not have a back button, it has to be inside of the UI. And all of this is going to be taken care of by the navigation page. If you are familiarized with developing iOS applications, this is going to be very similar to the navigation controller. All you have to do is get all of the pages kind of like inside of the navigation controller for the navigation controller to take care of the rest. The navigation between one and the other, it even sets a back button inside of the page and the title bar to identify each of the pages. So let's go ahead and add the navigation page. The navigation page has to be added right from the beginning, meaning that the main page has to be inside of the navigation page. Remember that we had the app.xaml.cs file open and that we saw that the main page was being assigned to a new main page. Well, it is in here where we need to change this. Instead of assigning the main page of the application to a new main page, which is the type that we had earlier, we have to assign it to a new navigation page. This navigation page, of course, has no content and is not the only thing that we need to do. The navigation page, yes, is now going to be the first page to be open when you start the application, but by itself, it doesn't really work. It doesn't really have anything. What we need to set is the root of the navigation page, meaning that we need to set the actual first page to be open. In here, we can create the new main page, just like we had before. So what we're doing here is creating a navigation page and setting the root page that the navigation page is going to display. And then this navigation page is going to be the main page of the application. So this is the first page to be created when we open the application. And so now that we have this, this push async is now going to work. So let's go ahead and test this. I'm going to run the application. In this case, on the Android simulator, you can test it on an iOS simulator. And once the application opens, let's write something down on both the email and the password entries so we know the else clause is the one that is going to execute, and we know the navigation is going to be performed. So before clicking login, notice something. Because we added a navigation page, there is a title bar that was added to the login page that we didn't have before. This is the way that the navigation page works. It is going to add a title bar that can optionally have a title in here, and that when the navigation continues is going to have a back button. So let's go ahead and click on login. Notice that it is the else clause that is the one that is going to be executed. We have hit this breakpoint that we had. We can click on continue. And if we go to the emulator again, we can see that in fact we were navigated to the home page where we had this welcome to Xamarin Forms label. And notice that we have this back button. If we click on it, we get navigated back to the login page. Now this may not be the ideal thing to do in this case, but it works. The navigation page has allowed us, and let me just get rid of these breakpoints in here, click on continue. The navigation page has allowed us to have this back button without having to code it or add it to the design. We also have this title bar that we didn't have to add. Now in this case, because this is Android, we always have the back button and we have the same functionality, but on iOS, this is especially important because on iOS, we do not have back buttons on the phone. It has to be in the software. So this back button is going to be particularly useful in that case. So we already have the navigation set up, at least the first navigation from the login page to the home page. We learned that to be able to do this, we need to call navigation.pushAsync and write the name of the page to which we want to navigate to, but that we also need to get everything inside of a navigation page. So this navigation page handles the navigation back and forth between the home pages. In the next lecture, we're going to change how the home page looks because so far we only have one label and that is not what we want. So we're actually going to take a look at a different kind of page that will allow us to have tabs inside of the layout.